Do you ever wonder why your business feels stuck and you feel overwhelmed and you feel like, gosh, I'm wanting this business to work so bad, but so much is getting in the way. And then maybe you're procrastinating, or maybe you're trying to be a perfectionist and not getting things out there. And you just feel like you're missing all the pieces of the puzzle to figure it all out. Well, then today is going to be an amazing podcast interview for you. My business coach, James Wedmore, is back on the podcast today, and we talk about the 5, well, I think it ended up being like 8 or 9 or 10 mistakes that entrepreneurs are making that is keeping them stuck and not growing in their business. And we talk on our podcast all about what's going on in your brain and why your brain is keeping you stuck and all those things. But if you don't have the right strategies, systems, and processes, without those things, it does not allow you to create a business. And so James dives into those today on the podcast. I think if you're an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, this idea of becoming a digital CEO and reversing the mistakes that you might be making is going to be key to you getting your business growth off the ground or growing and scaling the one that you have already. He is my business coach. He helped me through the systems, processes, and strategies take my business online and then to multiple 6 figures, potentially to 7 this year. And I want you to hear directly from him because I believe with the strategies he puts out, you can do the same. And so enjoy today's podcast and let me know what you think. I can't wait for you to learn these mistakes so that you don't get to make them anymore. All right, here we go. Today we have the most amazing treat. James Wedmore, my business coach, is with us today in the house. James, welcome to our podcast. Welcome to my tribe who are like super excited to have you with us here today. They know you're my business coach. I've done a big introduction of you already. So they know that you are the person that's helped me bring my business online and grow it to multiple 6 figures.
Very quickly, because I remember bringing you on a podcast about a year ago, talking about your case study and your growth. And where you are today from just a year ago is unbelievable. And I just want to acknowledge you for that. And that's, I think, a thing. I mean, it's not part of one of the things I'm going to go over with your audience today, but I think that's something that we tend to not realize is how close we are to that next level in our lives. And so much can happen in a year, in 6 months. And that's always so exciting to me. And, people look at where they are in the state of their business and how well or not well it's doing. And they get so discouraged. And it's there could be breakthrough results just waiting for you 90 days down the line. And I think you're living proof of that. Somebody who has a technology, a framework, an experience, a wisdom, and with just a little bit of work and the right tools, the right strategy, how we can get that into the hands of thousands of people and do what you and I both love doing, which is getting paid to help people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I remember specifically, because I'm a visionary, like you're a visionary, right? And I remember us having this conversation right when I very first started becoming coached by you. And of course I had all the ideas and all the ways I wanted to serve everybody. Right. And I remember you specifically saying, pick what you want to do and don't deviate for a year. Just pick it and stick with it and keep going. And I took that to heart and I said, you know what, he's right. Cause I'm going to want to jump to this and to that, cause that's our nature, just to keep growing in different ways. And that was the hardest and best thing I have ever done. It taught me so much about what I was capable of. It taught me so much about how to love people, how to serve people deeply and get out of my ego state and to get into the state that's just a pure service and keep going and keep going. So I'm just honored to have you as a coach, as you know.
Yeah.
And
well, I want to talk about that really quick because I think that's really important because a lot of people call themselves entrepreneurs and, it's really easy to give ourselves that title, but a lot of entrepreneurs I see are just people that are excited about the shiny object. the latest opportunity. And what you're really describing is what I really teach people, which is like to elevate beyond being an entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur is kind of stuck in just the opportunity.
Yeah.
They love the idea of a business. They love the idea of more money, more impact. But the digital CEO, which is what I'm coaching my clients to get into, has discipline. And I know that's not sexy and fun, but you develop discipline.
Yeah.
You developed focus. You realize that saying yes to this was really about, I got to say no to everything else, or rather not right now, to everything else. And when you developed that habit of discipline, that created momentum. And that's the thing. That's going to be your secret weapon. That's going to be your ally, is momentum. Whereas if you're hopping from one thing to the next, or working on 6 business ideas at once, where's the momentum there? You're always starting back at 0. And then you do it the first time, or you put it out there, you do that first launch, that first promotion, that first sale. And of course it doesn't go well. And then we
remember me crying.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And how many webinars did you do in a year? Was it 7 or 8?
Oh no, I 21 total webinars in that first year.
But it was different promotions. There was
As we moved along, so about 7 or 8 different times that we launched, and then multiple webinars within each.
And you, I think we've both heard this. It's kind of like a cheesy cliche quote, but it's I don't fear the man or the woman that knows 1,000 punches. I fear the one that has mastered one punch 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's called discipline. And I think we could use a little bit more of that in our lives, a little bit more focus. And I understand what prevents people from having that focus, that discipline. And we can get into that, of course, today. But I just wanted to acknowledge you for that's really what, you give someone the right plan, and you put on the blinders and stay focused on that, committed to that. You vastly increase your odds of success.
Yeah. And that's what I love about your method and your systems and your strategies and processes about becoming a digital CEO. It's you take the guesswork out of the how-to, and you allow for a system that we can plug in and then continue to grow and continue to grow and continue to grow. But I know, and one of the things I want to share with the audience today are some of the mistakes you see people make all the time, right? And hold them back. And, we talk about things that are holding them back from a brain-based perspective, but I would love for you to dive into these other mistakes they're making that they're not meaning to make, but yet at the same time, it's massively holding them back from the very thing that they want.
Yeah. I have at least 5 we'll go over today. There's so many more.
Yes.
And I'll say there's one I'm going to add right now. The biggest mistake of all is, in a business, as an entrepreneur or a business owner, trying to avoid mistakes is probably one of the biggest mistakes of all.
Yeah.
Making mistakes and making failures is not just inevitable. It's not just a prerequisite, but it's where the most growth comes from. And so when people try to avoid mistakes, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to make the wrong decision. Right. I don't want to make a mistake. So they end up making no decision at all. They end up taking no action without ever realizing that indecision is the decision to do nothing. And doing nothing is the only guaranteed way to get no results. So I'd prefer you go in the wrong direction for 3 weeks instead of doing nothing for 3 weeks, because it'll get you, and it seems backwards, but it will inevitably get you closer to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so that's like my bonus one that I'm starting with. So we'll get into all of these. And I really just think it's, first off, it always helps for us. I know you're a fan of this, but when your business is a reflection of you. And that's a really tough pill to swallow, and it's a beautiful, beautiful pill to swallow.
Yeah.
That your business is a reflection of you, and which means really your business will grow in proportion to how much you're willing to grow.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, and I know Shannon knows this, you've said it at our events before, but entrepreneurship is an inside job. It's personal development on steroids.
On steroids.
And so the first thing we have to be willing to do is take a really good, hard objective look or assessment at the state of our business, at the state of our bank account. You know, how much money are we making? How many sales and customers? What's our list size? How many leads are we getting? And be really honest with ourselves where that's at right now. And that to understand that what most people then do, and this is kind of the mistakes behind the mistakes, is if they're not happy with the results, they just say, well, maybe I got to just work harder. Maybe I got to push a little bit more and do more, work harder. But that's kind of like, that's like, if to use a car analogy, it's like you're in your car and you got the parking brake on and your foot's on the brake and you're giving it a little gas and it's not going anywhere. And you're like, well, maybe if I give it a little bit more gas.
Right.
Or even another way is like, maybe your car is aimed towards a brick wall and you're giving it gas that's not going anywhere. And it's like, well, maybe if I give it more gas, no, we got to move the car. In other words, we got to start looking at a different strategy or way of doing things. And that's why working more and harder isn't the answer, because anybody can work harder, longer, faster in the wrong direction and on the wrong things. And you'll never see the right results doing that. And so I really want to correct that. And the fact of the matter is, and this is like a Forbes stat I found a couple of years ago, 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 18 months.
Nice.
So what most people are doing, and I firmly believe that, you know, it's kind of my gripe, but it is what it is. You know, I didn't go to entrepreneurial school, and I don't know anyone who really did. Even college grads that like did an emphasis in entrepreneurship. School didn't really prepare us for entrepreneurship. I really do think it made it worse. And so what we do is we apply this thing we call common sense. You know, what we just think should be the right way. And we apply common sense to growing a business.
Yeah.
And if we look around, success isn't really that common. It's not. Right. Especially when stats like 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 18 months. So success isn't common. So how much of your decisions, your actions, what you do, what you don't do, where you spend your time, your effort, and your energy is kind of like the byproduct of your own thinking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I should do this today. Says who? Where did that come from? You know? And this is why coaching and getting someone who's been there, done that is like essential. That would be another mistake, is like never having built a business before and saying, I'm going to figure this out myself, is one of the biggest mistakes ever, because, and it's not even one of my official 5. These are just kind of like the general ones. I'm getting into the specific ones. I don't know how many entrepreneurs who are successful today came to me and said something along the lines of like, I wish I would have asked for help sooner because of how slow my growth was, trying to figure it all out myself, how much money I left on the table, and how many customers I could have helped that I left behind because I was unwilling to get the help I needed. Yeah. So we have to, and I'm telling you that if you truly want to be successful in whatever your endeavor is, and I know what does success mean? Success is as simple as this: getting what you want as easily, as effortlessly, as light, as fun as possible. Success is your own definition of success. Yeah. But in business, we measure growth by sales, revenue, profit, money.
Yeah.
So it's part of the game. And if you want to get more income and more impact, reach more people, get more customers, and you haven't done that before, you must be willing to take on an open, coachable student mindset to learn things that are going to be very contradictory to what you believe to be true. But what you believe to be true has only gotten you here.
Yes.
And we must be willing to adopt a different way of thinking. Entrepreneurs are just a very different, they're weird. We're weird people. We think differently. So it's weird because we're different than the mass collective average of people. So I want to kind of go over some of those with you guys today. And I'm just going to ask you to notice when you start to reject my ideas. Like, I don't agree. I don't believe. And that's fine. It's good to be skeptical, but at what cost?
Right.
If you've never done it before, then you don't know. You know, like if you've never swam if you don't know how to swim and I give you a book on how to swim and it's the best book in the world and you read it cover to cover, do you really know how to swim now?
Mm-mm.
And the answer is no. You only have true knowledge from experience. In other words, if you've never built $1 million business, even if you've read 10 books on it, you don't know how to build $1 million business. That's okay. But that means we have to be open to a completely different way of thinking. So here's, are we ready to get into these? Can I go over the five?
Let's get into them. And I love that you brought up this whole idea of needing to be in the presence and learn from somebody who's done it before, because it's to me, it's rampant. That's like, okay, well, now I'm going to just follow my passion and I'm now whatever. And, you know, I put up my shingle and now I'm going to go help people, but I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to show up. I don't know how to do anything, but yet it seems totally normal for them to do that. And I was guilty of that at one point, a long time ago, but I think about somebody who's like building a house. You wouldn't go up to an open lot, right? And never having built a house before and go, I got this. I don't need a general contractor. I'll just start laying bricks. It'll work. It'll all work out just fine. I'm not sure I'd want to live in that house, you know?
And if you wanted it to be your dream house, you'd get the best contractor, the best plumbers, the best architects, the best electricians.
Yeah.
You get the best.
Yeah.
Because they have the experience.
Yeah.
So let's go to the first one. It's a biggie for me. And this is the big mistake here is a lot of people are just staying busy in their business and they're actually not income oriented with their focus and their action. So it's very easy to just stay busy. Like I could give anybody here listening a to-do list a mile long that would keep you busy and give you the illusion of productivity for 6 months straight, and you'd never make a dime in your business. There is so much stuff calling your name and attention. Like I got to be on all the social media sites. I got to have the fancy website. I got to have logos and business cards and photo shoots and all my legal stuff and privacy policies and, my DBAs, all these things that are going to constantly call your attention and it's never going to be done. And I've seen people spend 6 months doing this and still have not a single customer. And the fact is you don't have a business until someone gives you money. And when we take a look at that long to-do list, that's a mile long, there's what we call the 5% rule. And it's that only 5% of those activities are the revenue generating activities. Yeah. And so the big mistake is people spend all of their time on the 95% activities when the successful entrepreneurs focus on the 5% and they focus on those 5% first. Yes. You're in business when you start making sales, and there's a lot of stuff that people think they need. And this is like kind of encompassing a bunch of myths and mistakes within it.
Oh yeah.
All these stories and beliefs that people make up in their mind about what they need before they can make a sale. And so for people listening, that'd be a really good journal prompt is, what is the story I've been telling myself of what I need to have, do, create, or be before I can make sales? I got to have a website. I got to have a business plan. I got to have a logo. I've got to have my niche perfectly filled out to a key and all this stuff. And it's like, no, the fact of the matter is right now there are people out there drowning. There are people out there that are suffering. They're in pain. And you're either going to choose to help them or not. And when someone's in a lot of pain, like I can imagine, Shannon, with the work that you do, you've dealt with people that are, probably like so burnt out and stuff that they're having physical ailments as a result of it, like their marriage is suffering and they're desperate.
Yeah.
And when you go, hey, I can help you. I get this. I've been there myself and I can help you. They're not like, well, wait a second. Let me see your logo.
No, I've never been asked.
Yeah. All these things we think we need. And the fact is that successful entrepreneurs know that there's always going to be a million things on the to-do list.
Yeah.
But you can choose right now to focus on helping people and focus on sales. And so for a long time, what really helped me, because I struggled for a really long time. I like to brag and say that I struggled more than anybody out there. Yeah. And so if I can do it, anybody can do it. My mission is really to just shorten that struggle phase, that journey for you, so that you're getting money. And what got me out of it was just, what am I doing today to bring in revenue? What am I doing today to attract customers? And that became the first thing I do every day that I decided to open the laptop, first thing. Because I'll tell you right now, the reason we are not doing that, excuse me, it's because it's outside your comfort zone. It's scary.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, rejection and criticism, and someone's going to say no to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your brain's screaming stop, because that's a threat, right?
Yeah. And so part of having an income and sales orientation as a priority is also realizing that if you're afraid that someone's going to say no to you, they will. But if you don't put yourself out there, first of all, you don't grow the business.
Right.
Sorry, you can't build a business on likes and shares and friends and followers. Doesn't pay the bills. Doesn't pay the team. But then you're saying no to that person that does need your help.
Yes.
And that made the world of difference for me when I became not just income oriented, like it's all about the money. It's not. The money is the byproduct of the impact that we're having in the world. And when I made everything I did focused on, if there's just one person I can help out there, like this podcast live we're doing right now, is there one person out there listening that I can make some sort of a difference for? Great. If that one person is hearing this message and everyone else hates me and calls me names, I win. I win. It doesn't matter, because I helped somebody.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to overcome all the fears, the brain-based, chatter that kind of comes in and tries to keep us in our comfort zone. So that's the first one. Any questions or anything there?
Just that, like, I want everybody to, so James can get a drink of water too. He's trying to recover from being sick. There was seriously $1 million gold nugget that he just put in there. And I don't want you to miss it. He started his day. Remember, we talk about how does a multiple 7, he'll be 8 figures this year, I think. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
I think so. So I do. So how does he start his day? He just told you. That is gold right there. He starts his day by saying, how can I create more revenue today? And how can I get more customers? How can I grow my customer base? Every day he opens his laptop.
Yeah.
That's gold, James.
And nothing I'm going to say is going to change your life. What's going to change your life is adopting what I say.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're facing with right now it's basically epidemic proportions of a bunch of people, well-intentioned, that are overwhelmed with so much content. They're not using any of it. No. You hear tips like this and it's like, oh, cool. And you take notes, but are you using it? Right. Are you living it? Are you operating from these new ideas? If not, nothing's going to change in your life. I'll just tell you that right now. Nothing's going to change if you don't change first. So that's another myth. I got a million of them, but that's another mistake, is people keep learning, but they don't do anything with what they learn, because they keep using the tools of what got you here. But what got you here is never going to get you there. Yeah. So
perform that subconscious. I'm going to throw something in though, because I know there's somebody listening and they're saying this. They're butting us. They're, this sounds amazing. And that 5% thing, James, that makes sense. But I've got all these things to do. I can't afford to hire staff. So
that brings me to myth number 2. It's like you plan. She doesn't even know what these.
I have no idea.
Second biggest mistake: entrepreneurs and business owners trying to do it all yourself. Here, look, this is going to sting for some people, but one of the biggest costly mistakes you could be making is trying to do it all yourself. And here's why. First of all, why would you want? Most people became an entrepreneur so they could have more freedom.
Yeah.
How's that working out for you? When you're doing it all yourself, you went from jumping ship from one job to taking on 15 jobs, right? You're working
the worst boss possible.
Oh, I know. And then you're just like this jerky boss that's just doesn't let yourself take a day off. So here's the thing. Let's say somebody wants to make $200,000 in revenue this year. So $200,000 in revenue, there's 2,070 working hours in a year. Does that sound right? Something like that, roughly. Yeah. So that puts your hourly wage, if you want 200K in revenue, at $96 an hour. That means if you are, and this is going to take us to one of our other mistakes I'll get to in a moment, which is going to blow your minds. If you're committed to a $200,000 a year business, then that means at a $200,000 a year business, you as the owner, CEO, visionary, your time is worth $96 an hour. So when you go do something that someone else could be doing for $3 to $5 an hour, and yes, I teach my students how to get your first part-time virtual assistant for $3 to $5 an hour, and you choose to do that yourself, what you're saying is every hour that you work on one of these $5 activities, it's costing you $90.
Yeah.
And if you spent all year doing that, you're only making about $10,000 to $20,000 a year, which means it's costing you about $70,000 to $80,000 in lost revenue. Yeah. You lose $70,000 to $80,000 in a year because you told yourself the story, I might as well just do it myself, or I can't afford to outsource, or if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. But here's the funny thing. If you can't afford to outsource, number one, it's because you haven't been outsourcing. If you spend 90% of your day on activities that don't bring in money in the business, how the heck are you ever expected to make any money? But here's where it gets even worse when we talk about your subconscious. Yeah. If you can't afford to spend $30 to $60 a week to start getting your precious time back at a subconscious level, what you are agreeing to is the belief that your time is not valuable, that you don't value your time. And if you don't value your time, how the heck do you expect your customers to value your time? Mm-mm. This is a much bigger problem than people ever realize. No. I'll just do it myself for a while.
Much faster.
It's so, I mean, like, people talk about how, look, one of the biggest problems entrepreneurs are facing right now is burnout.
Yeah.
And then when you look, they're doing it all themselves. When you're burnt out, you are useless and you're broke. In other words, you can't tap into your potential of who you really are and what you were put here to do, because you're sitting here fixing your About Me page on WordPress and formatting it for 3 hours.
Right.
That's your purpose? That's what you were here to do? Hell no.
Right.
OMG, no. So even getting someone to give you an hour or two back now will give you an hour or two to get back into your genius zone, back into those 5% revenue generating activities. That will grow the business.
You know, as you were saying that about like that net where you'll be about 10 or 20,000, right? You said that's where you'll be. Yeah. I started thinking about a particular client that I had that was doing the exact same things. And the amount of visceral stress that he was going through was nearly ruining his marriage. He gained 45, 50 pounds. He didn't show up for his clients. So it was actually a negative where he honestly could have made literally like $200,000, $300,000 that year. He was literally in debt, miserable. And his marriage was just a mess because he wouldn't let the death grip go, right?
Yeah, and that death grip is a big one, which, you know, a lot of it for people is like the fear of letting go.
Yeah.
Especially when I work with our like multiple 7-figure clients, like they're still holding on to so much control.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother mistake of just this idea of control being an illusion. And you know, you think by doing it all yourself that you have more control, and you don't. And even the idea of thinking that no one can do it as good as you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so no one can format a blog post better than you. Like no one can edit a podcast episode better than, you know what I mean? Like there's just so much that a business needs. And it's very rare to find anybody who is wildly successful doing it all themselves. Just very, very rare. And that's the whole point of a business. Is a business. This isn't a job.
Right.
It's a business. And it requires a team. Great businesses are built by great teams, and anybody can get started with a part-time virtual assistant for $30 to $60 a week.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah. And those systems you have literally laid out in your program Business by Design, where
Oh yeah.
you
Oh,
can
totally.
like seriously. And this is something that, and it's not that you're going to be absent of fear. Like, trust me, when I invested in coaching with James, I had all the feeling of like, holy crap, this is a lot, like all those things, but I knew it was the best thing for me. It's the same thing when I hired my first virtual assistant. I'm like, I was seeing it as money going out, but intuitively I knew I can't keep going on these $10 an hour tasks. They're killing me.
Yeah.
They're killing me. And I kind of went on the philosophy of, you know what, I'll get rid of the things I hate first because then I'll feel better. And so I got rid of like the accounting and those kind of things. I love numbers. I hate watching them. Like, I want to analyze them. But the processes in BBD, literally when I was ready to go to from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to, I think we have close to 10 now part-time, I was able to continue to use those strategies and those systems that were in there. But it takes that first one. It takes being done with it. Right.
And like, you know, what are you really risking when you hire someone part-time, couple bucks an hour? Try it out. It doesn't hurt to try it, you know? Yeah. Let's go to the next one, which is a big one I see all the time, because I get a lot of people coming to me and they're like, they feel overwhelmed. They feel like they're struggling. They feel stuck.
Yeah.
And one of the common things they say is like, I can't see the big picture. I can't connect all the dots, and I haven't been able to put all the pieces together. And so this whole idea of people not getting started until they have the whole picture.
Yeah.
And this is backwards, and it's broken. And so if you've been sitting there waiting to get started or waiting to do that next phase or iteration, and waiting until you have all the pieces, the clarity, the neon lights pointing you in the right direction, it's never gonna happen. It's backwards. The truth is, it's action that creates clarity. We almost want to look at it like if you're on a literal journey, you're pretty much only going to have the next step right in front of you illuminate. And that's really what it becomes about, is like not needing to have the whole big picture, like your 10-year business plan or some nonsense like that. But what's my next required action? What's the next step? What can I do today? And if you're not doing that and you're not in action, you're not going to get the next step after that and the next step after that.
Yeah.
It requires action and to gain that clarity. And so that's a real simple one, but I can't tell you how many times people do their first launch, their first promotion, their first webinar, their first beta launch. We can talk about what that means. And it's through that experience that they go, oh my goodness, I just had an entire crash course on my market, my audience, my messaging, how I'm going to do this moving forward. And, you know, they'll get a ton of coaching from me, and they'll even admit, like, I learned more from this experience. Like, you gave me the foundations to do it as good as I possibly could, but I learned stuff that I couldn't have learned any other way. And it's like, that's because you can read the book on how to swim, but it's not until you feel the water and know what treading feels like that you actually have the experience of swimming. And it's the same way with business. You're going to have to be okay with making mistakes. You're going to have to be okay with looking like a dum-dum, you know, looking bad, messing up. You know, and I think that's my secret to my success, if there is one, which is I'm just more willing to make mistakes than the average Joe or Jane. I'm more willing to get it wrong, make failures, and look bad. I just know that when your heart's in the right place and your intentions are pure, you're a human being. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to get it wrong. But where's that intention coming from? And the intention is always, I want to help people. I want to serve. I want to make a difference. I want to grow. I want to help. And you're going to mess up. But the biggest mistake of all is not doing anything because you're afraid you're going to mess up. Action creates clarity, and it's action outside of your comfort zone that will create that clarity. I guarantee you. So that's the third one. Should we go to the next one?
Yeah, but I do want to like say like yes and amen to that, because I think when my first beta launch, I kind of went with the idea of what I thought people, that's what we do. We only have the information we have. And so it's like, well, I told James when we first started, I'm like, I've never had to communicate what I do, because my offline business is all word of mouth. I never actually had to say, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, and this is what it's going to do for you.
Hard.
It was a challenge. It was like all the stuff with my ego, but the first thing I'm like, well, people want to be productive. I'll go from that vantage point, because that's what they say they want. People don't really want to be productive. They want what productivity gives them, So that's what, like, I put it all out there, and I was like,
really good.
Oh my gosh, that's not really what they want. What they want is the end result of that. And so I had to learn that, and I learned more about what they wanted and what was important and what was hurting them and what all of that stuff. There was no way, if I hadn't dived in fully, that I would have heard any of that. I would have just gone along thinking I knew everything and putting out, what people don't need and expecting people to buy it, Which
a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So that just, and then the next one gave me more of a picture, and the next one gave me more of a picture, and then the next one. And then all of a sudden it becomes, grows on itself, right? Like you just get this energy from how much more you can know your people, how much deeper you can serve them, but that comes from action. You can't get that sitting like,
waiting and wishing. Yeah, exactly. So I really hope that will inspire people into some action that they've been avoiding.
Yeah.
Let's go to the fourth one, which has to do with some indecisions as well. We see this one a lot. People hesitating and being an indecision around like the perfect software, the perfect tools, and the perfect solution. And not, I see this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact is like, I got started 12 years ago. Back then, to create something on the internet and ask for money and receive it and then deliver it, that took like wizardry skills.
Yes.
Today, for like $100 a month, there's so many options out there where it's like push, done.
Yeah.
It's never been easier than right now. And there's so many options available at the cheapest price possible. And so many people still get in their heads about it. Like, what if I choose the wrong one and all this? And the fact of the matter is, your customers don't care what software you use.
No.
They don't make their buying decision based on what software you use. So why are you spending so much time worrying about it? Pick one, let's get started. But people are using it as one of the many excuses because it makes it real.
Yeah.
When you invest in that software. But here's the other thing, and this will take us to the fifth one, is they're also choosing the decisions of what tools to use in their business based on price.
Ooh.
And this is going to sting for a lot of people, but I just see entrepreneurs, it's the struggling ones that are like always making their decisions about what's the cheapest options. Well, look, this is true for a lot of things. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And what this really does is it's a pathway to a bridge to the final big mistake, which is I think the biggest one of all, which is this idea of we act and make decisions based on the business we have now versus the one that we want. And so here's the perfect example of this. When you're looking at that tool or software that you need, let's say you want to be a company that's making $50,000 a month, but right now you're making 1,000 or 2.
Yeah.
And you see this software that you need to like host your membership or course or whatever, and it's a little pricey. You're like, ooh, I don't know, it's a little expensive. And so there's the decision to get it or not based on where you're at right now. But then there's that question that you get to ask, which is, what would the $50,000 a month business do? And most people stay stuck. Most people don't grow because they keep making decisions from the business they are at right now, their current circumstances, their current time availability, their current resources, their current bank account size, versus making decisions from the type of business that they're committed to being. And I understand that this, but I mean, your people get this, right? But this is a bit of an intellectual, intangible concept. But last year we went from 3 million to 8 million plus in revenue. And I attribute all of it to coming back to this one piece that I'm sharing right now, is that I had to stop showing up the way I had been showing up, realizing that to make $3 million, I know how to make $3 million, but I didn't know how to make any more than that because I hadn't done it.
Right.
And I realized by the way, we'd been going from like 2 million to 2.2 to 2.3 to 2.5, this little incremental growth, which is still growth, but that growth was based on work harder, work longer, work faster. And we experienced a quantum leap in growth the moment I said, what would a $10 million a year business do? How does that CEO operate? How do they show up? Where does he spend his time? Where does he focus his energy? What does he say no to? What does he do differently than a $3 million a year business? And I got absolutely obsessed with this question in a healthy way. Like I wasn't worried or freaked out. I was curious. I was curious, and I had to let go of who I thought I was. I had to let go of how I had done things in the past in order to try things a new way. And excuse me, at the end of the day, we didn't hit $10 million, but we got pretty darn close.
Pretty close.
And I cannot tell you, Richard Bandler, it's one of my favorite quotes. Shannon's heard me say it probably a million times. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask. And that's because your subconscious mind, it's like rules your life, right? Its job is to answer whatever question you put in front of it.
That's right. So
if you go around saying, what's wrong with me? Your subconscious mind's probably going to give you an answer. Like, well, where do we begin?
I've got it.
How much time you got? If we sit there and we say, what would it look like? What would it feel like for me to be a $1 million business owner? How would I spend my time? What would I do differently? How do other $1 million CEOs spend their time? You would open up a new dialogue with yourself. You would begin to look at things differently, and you will reach the level of success that you want in direct proportion to how willing you are to stay in that inquiry, to stay in that question, because it's in the question. See, people are looking for the answers. No, screw the answers. Stay in the question, because it's in the question that we create new possibility for our lives. It's that question that creates this opening, this space, this room for new. But when you've got a full cup and you've got all the answers, you're just saying one answer is a no to any other possibility. So that's why, just to bring this full circle, to go back and think you know it all, and to think I'm going to use my common sense because I'm smart and I got good grades, which is how, by the way, that's what I did. I got good grades in school. I'm smart and I work hard. I can do this. I struggled for 5 years straight, broke as a joke. And it wasn't until I started surrendering and saying, maybe I don't know. And that's okay. Maybe what it takes is outside of what I think I know. That's when things began to open up for me, and that's when they'll open up for you guys as well. So that's the fifth one. Are you going to make decisions and take actions from where you are now, or from where you're committed to being? Because what got you here will never get you there. It doesn't work that way.
No. And that's, you guys heard it, right? I talk about this all the time. It's why I love James as my business coach. He's brain priming every single day. And that's why he's manifesting this. He's creating and taking the actions from the place of that $10 million business owner that's shifted everything. And you can too. That's the thing that I want them to hear from you, so how close are they, James? Like, I know for myself, it was this close, and I just kept going. So how close are they, and how often do you see people giving up that close to gold?
Most are giving up right away. And, generally speaking, I can never answer that in a general sense, but I'll tell you this, you could be this close. Your chances are you're closer than you think. In fact, you can feel your way to the answer. You can feel if that feels true for you. Am I close? And, I can give you story after story after story after story after story of this, like, it's almost like it's like an action movie where like this near miss where it's like, woo. And I'm going to give one example. We have a client in our mastermind who came in, they were already successful, $200,000 a year business. And they did a launch and it did well. And they came onto a hot seat. I'll never forget this. And they did this launch and it did well. And they came on their hot seat and they're like, okay, now I'm going to go do this other thing. Yeah. And they sat there for 20 minutes and everyone was like, yeah, okay, here's this plan to go on this other thing. And I just like interrupted the hot seat. And I was like, wait, stop. I was like, go over what you did here again. And we looked at the numbers, we looked at everything. And I was like, this has massive potential. Yeah. Why are you going to go start over and do something new and do it again? I said, just go back and focus on this one. They never started that second product. They did exactly what I told them to do. And they took that product to $1 million that year. And that was 3 years ago now. They're in their third year since they've joined. Wow. And they've taken their business from 200,000 to they're on track pacing over 4 million this year. This close. Yeah. And I really believe it came down to a moment like that where they were going to zig. And I said, wait a second, let's zag. Let's go this way. Yeah. And exploded their business. I have countless stories of people like that just like, they did one little thing differently. And I look at my life as a testament to that. And Shannon, from all the webinars you did, that was like a little bit, and then boom. And can you imagine where you would be today if you would have stopped short after that first or second one saying, it doesn't work, and that's the problem. It's not that it didn't work. It's that what didn't work is our expectations. Yeah. Where are you guys getting these beliefs that you just do your first business and within 30 days you're making $1 million? Like, where is that coming from? I'm not saying it isn't possible. Right. It is possible. I'll tell you, I got examples of people that did 0 to $1 million in their first 9 months. Wow. 9 months in business, they went 0 to $1 million. But just because that's possible doesn't mean that if it doesn't happen, you give up. Right. Everyone's on their own journey. And you got to honor that journey. And you give up before the end of the journey. That's like running a marathon and then stopping halfway through. And then you just call yourself, it didn't work. Yeah. It's because you gave up. Yeah. And one of the principles that we operate and teach our students to operate from is your success is inevitable. Mm-hmm. And so if you really try that on beyond a concept, what would it look like and what would it feel like if you knew that your success was inevitable? In other words, that everything that you want, everything that's on that vision board, everything that's on that dream list is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. As long as you don't give up, you still got to do the work. How would you show up differently today? What would you do differently? How would you feel differently today knowing that it's all going to happen? Yeah. And that's how we have to operate. That's how we have to. If you're operating conditionally, like, oh, I'll try it, and if it works, I'll get committed.
Yeah, I hope it works.
I hope it works, and if it doesn't work, I give up. Yeah. It's backwards. Yeah. Success goes to those who committed and did whatever it took and knew it was going to happen. Yeah. That's called certainty. That's called confidence. That's saying it's going to happen. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day. Yeah. And people see me and they go, well, easy for you, James, and you have a team and you have a reputation. I cannot tell you how long I struggled. Yeah. 5 years. I got addicted to my sister's Adderall. I don't have ADHD. She had ADHD, or she was diagnosed with it. She finally got off of it. I dropped down from 220 pounds to 145 pounds. I looked like a skeleton. Wow. I would work for 14 hours a day. I lost all my friends. My girlfriend broke up with me. I had to move back in with my parents' house. I was living off these Subway sandwiches for 5 years. And I wouldn't give up. I couldn't quit. And I was like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make this happen. And today it's so funny because we work with so many people and they're at this for like a year or two, and they're already doing far better than I was after 7 years. And like, they still like beat themselves up.
Still
Like,
discouraged, yeah.
they'll be like, I just did a $20,000 launch. It's like, it's not what I hoped for. And I'm like, not what you hoped for. I did, for the first 4 years, I didn't make more than $20,000 in a year.
Wow.
That was my, can you believe that? That was my annual, like, I remember like paying taxes on that. There was like, no, you don't have to pay any taxes because you didn't even make above the poverty line. And that was like so discouraging. But I look back at that time, I was like, what a, it's beautiful. It's like nostalgic, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, consider how that feels when you try it on, that your success is inevitable, and it can be really powerful. Anyways, we talked a lot here today. I'll just recap 5 myths really quick.
Love you too. Yeah.
Not being sales and income oriented. Trying to do it all yourself, number 2. Number 3, waiting for all the pieces, all the dots connected, the whole big picture before you ever get started. Being an indecision about choosing the right software and the right tools. And then the big one, making decisions based on where you are today versus the type of business that you're committed to being. And I mean, that's a big one. Like, oh, I don't have the money to invest in the education and the coaching and the training I need. Well, maybe that's because you haven't gotten the coaching and the training that you need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we let our circumstances dictate what's possible for us, and we stay stuck. So these are 5 of many big mistakes. And it all really comes back to this idea that we weren't trained to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we got to start thinking a little bit differently. So if you're just relying on your common sense, be mindful of that, because that's what I was doing for so long.
Yeah, me too.
We got to be willing to think outside the box we created it for ourselves. And I hope you're all willing to do that. Be open, be coachable to new ideas and new ways, new perspectives.
James, I would love for you to talk to everybody about this upcoming video series, training series, business training series called The Rise of the Digital CEO.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Siri just talked to me. Heard something I said. So, you know, now I'm in my 12th year of doing this. As you know, Shannon's a member of my mastermind. 4 years ago, I started a mastermind, and I've just seen all these amazing entrepreneurs grow. You know, like I shared one example, someone going from 200 to 4 million in 3 years. Unbelievable growth. And I realized that we had a really different approach to business. And, you know, I started putting together like the training for that. And we really anchored it into this idea of like not being an entrepreneur anymore, but being the digital CEO that your business needs. Yeah. That it starts with this idea that there's like, you set these goals, like, I want to start a business. I want to make this much money. You know, no matter how long you've been in business, like you have goals for your business. But we kind of stop there. You say, I want to make $500,000 this year. But we don't ever go, well, what does a $500,000 business need from me?
Right.
And who does it need me to be? And so we started with this idea that we got to ask that question. And then we realized that the role you fill will ultimately determine the results you receive in your business. Yeah. And most people are in the wrong role. So we want to get you into the digital CEO role. And so the series is designed to show you how to do that and what your business needs in order for it to get the results that you want. And we've identified 5 core ingredients that every online digital business, if you're a personal brand or you want to be selling coaching courses, memberships, you know, group coaching workshops, live events, whatever, the 5 core ingredients that every successful entrepreneur, every successful digital CEO has. And we just break it all down for you. It's very counterintuitive. Yeah. So I call #backwards. It's going to be controversial. It's going to be a little in your face. It's going to challenge a lot of your beliefs. It'll force you to think differently about business. Last year we did it. People said it was the best free training series they'd ever seen. And I said, that's great, but I want to make it better. And we just got the final versions back. And in my personal humble opinion, it kicks last year's series butt. Wow. So for that person that wants to, have an online business, an online component to your business, build an audience, generate sales online, you're going to love this series because we're going to show you how to do it.
So the link is here live to get on the wait list. It opens on the 29th, but to get you on the wait list so you're the first to get your hands on it. And if you're catching this on the podcast, then the link is in the show notes. I have had a sneak peek already.
Yeah.
Like I seriously sat there, and James knows this. I watched this sneak peek of it, and I had goosebumps. Seriously, like the transformation that somebody can make through this video series and beyond is game changer. And yeah, you are a little controversial. You are challenging some beliefs, but they're the beliefs that don't serve anybody and will truly, I would say it's not for people who are just a hobbyist, who's just, right, trying to make a quick buck or trying to, go toward that Lambro lifestyle or something. I don't think that's
the Lambro,
life.
Yeah, the dabbler or the I really just want to make like $1,000 a month, passive part-time. It's not for that person. It's great. It's totally awesome. And there's totally ways you can do that. That's not me. Yeah. Like I'm an all-in approach person. Like this is for you if you're all in.
Yeah.
And, because it's like you can make $1,000 and then we have these entrepreneurs that are making millions. So it's like, let's go all in. I'm all in with everything I do. And I want to attract those all in people.
Yeah.
And that's what makes our community so special, is that you get to meet people just as extraordinary as Shannon in the community, because they're all in as well. Shannon went all in on her online business. Yeah. And it tells. I mean, like the results she received is, and still getting, is a byproduct of that.
Yeah. And being, like you said, surrounded with these amazing digital CEOs that have implemented what my tribe is going to learn in the Rise of the Digital CEO video series. So get signed up for that, y'all. It's, in my mind, the best business training available out there, period. And the community that surrounds it, I agree. I am always the least smart person in the room, and I absolutely love that. And yeah, you might be challenged, but you're going to be challenged to build a business that's the business of your dreams. We're on pace to hit over 1 million with the online portion of our business this year, which,
amazing.
To say that, I still pinch myself because I get to show up and transform people's lives every day. And it's like a dream come true. I can't, like you said, I can't imagine if I'd have tapped out after that first webinar,
And you've grown at a very rapid rate.
Yeah.
I don't know if you acknowledge that. I feel like you wish you could go even faster than you already are.
Yeah.
But again, it took me, so first 5 years, the most I ever made was like 22,000 a year in the year, full time. Then I had my breakout year, 2011, when I did about 100,000.
Yeah.
2011, 12, 13, it took 4 years. Then I hit 1 million. 4 more years before I hit 1 million. And that was me really pushing, right? And so you've gotten there way faster than I did.
Yeah, it's having a good coach. That's the power of a good coach right there.
Really, it is. And it's not, I'm not the only one out there. So, but it is about finding the right coach for you. 100%. It's or go the long and slow route, which just costs more time and money. I don't know why anyone would want to do that anyways. But then it was, that was 4 years. That's, so you went way faster than I did. And I was happy with my speed of my growth. So, anything is possible. I haven't always believed that, but I believe that now.
Yeah.
And, it's really exciting. So.
Yeah. And you hold space for people's biggest visions in their business. And that's a big part of it.
Nothing less than that,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
James.
That's the thing. Yeah. Most people just if you just stopped not believing in yourself, you'd be amazed at what you could accomplish. It's it's not even you got to go out and do more. It's stop putting on the brakes on your vision. Stop talking yourself out of your true potential, and just watch what happens. But easier said than done. I get that. That's where you come in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. James, I can't wait to grab my popcorn and all of my business friends. We're going to have a binge party. We've already planned it. We're very excited about it down here in San Diego. We've rented a little restaurant. We're going to be watching it together at this restaurant. It's going to be a blast. We'll be videoing that too. So you'll see that on my page, but I don't want you to miss this. So make sure you get on that wait list with a link below. When you do that, you get a hold of James's Hardwired for Entrepreneurship PDF, which is on the thank you page for you to get in there and join us, right? So that you can really step into that role of the digital CEO this year and watch what you can do. It's pretty mind-blowing what we can do when we get out of our own way, right, James?
Absolutely. And this is so fun. To leave you with, there was this quote that's been floating around, and I truly believe this, which is, when we set a goal, it's not about the goal. It's not about the money. It's not about the destination. It's about who you get to discover yourself to be.
Yeah.
It's who you become in the process. And that's what this is about. You know, entrepreneurship is the ultimate personal growth playground.
Yeah.
And when you get to help people, you know, make an impact, and improve your quality of life, but then grow and evolve as a human, it's, I don't know, 12 years, I don't get bored or sick of it at all.
Yeah.
And
I love it. I love it. James, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for seriously opening up your business for my tribe and letting them see some of those mistakes that they may or may not be making. But if they are, knowing that there is a better path, there is a path that a digital CEO can take. And there's this video series is going to help them. But thanks for being on the podcast again. I just adore you. I appreciate you so much. And
likewise.
We'll see you on the 29th.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Okay, wow. What an interview, right? Like, I just want to encourage you to grab a piece of paper and go back and read, like, take notes, because so many golden gems he gave in that podcast interview absolutely was a game changer. Like, the things he talked about were the things that I shifted in the last 2 years. And so I just know the value of what he gave you. And I know if you started actually implementing those things, you are going to see exponential growth in your business and in your life. So I love the 1-2 punch that's James and I help you have the right mindset. James helps you have the strategies, the processes, the methods to grow your business. And I want you to have the very best. So I need you to know about this video series that James has coming up. We talked about it in the interview, called The Rise of the Digital CEO. It is going to be a binge-worthy, like Netflix style business training. And it's all around how to grow the CEO that your business needs for you to be able to grow and scale. In the podcast notes, there's a link to join the waitlist. If you're listening to this podcast and it's already the 29th, that same link will take you right to the video series. I'm so excited for you to get this training, to watch it, and to come back over to any of my social pages at Dr. Shannon Irvine on Facebook and Instagram. Tag me and tag James and let us know what you thought about this interview and the series when it goes live. I cannot wait to see you get the systems, processes, and strategies that I had access to, and to continue to train your brain to transform your business. All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.